Wow, all of a sudden it's like actually really hot and humid outside. We've had such kind of chilly weather over the past couple of weeks, and it's May, and now all of a sudden it's really hot. So great. Perfect time for me to get sick. Perfect time for me to get a cold and a sore throat and suffer, in the humidity. Mm. Well, hi. How are you doing, my fellow YouTubians and subscribers? I am just 8 subscribers shy of 77, at which point I shall be revealing my favorite movie of the last decade and name the person who guessed correctly. Now, there have been a few people guessing, and I can tell you right now that at least one person is right. However, I'm going to be giving customized videos to the first 4 people to guess right, so there's still plenty of time to check out that video, and the link's in the description, and see if you can figure out which of the 3 movies that I mentioned are on the very top of my list of best of the decade. And if you do, I'll make a video especially for you. So yeah, do that, please. A few months ago, one of the guys I watch and who watches me, Absolute Sublime One, made a video in which he asked his viewers to tell everyone what their 5 deserted island movies are. If you were stuck on a deserted island for the rest of your life with only 5 DVDs to watch forever, what would they be? And I had kind of a hard time coming up with 5. I figured a couple that would be good to watch over and over and over again, and they were complex and long enough to appreciate without getting bored of them. But I think probably a better question would be albums, music albums, because those you can listen to hundreds of times and never get tired of, even though you know every single note of, just because it's just different. I mean, with a movie, it's like once you know it line for line, shot for shot, then it gets a little dull. Like True Romance, for example. I can't really watch True Romance anymore. I love that movie, but it's just boring because I know every single word of the dialogue, and every shot. So I thought that I would take a moment to tell you about some of my favorite albums and which 5 I would bring with me to a deserted island. Naturally, of course, there's a solar-powered equipment to play said DVDs on. But this isn't a situation whereby you can burn a DVD or use a customized playlist of MP3s. No, it has to be an actual CD put together by a band, and that's all you have to listen to, okay? It's like the disc changer. Once you put those 5 CDs in and close the disc changer, then it's stuck closed, and you can never open it up and put something else in, something like that. But you can choose any albums you want. I don't know, it's a ridiculous hypothetical situation, but a couple of the albums that I considered were Throwing Copper by Live, which has lots and lots of good tracks on it, and I've enjoyed listening to this album many times, so that would be something that I would consider. And here is a band called Low. They specialize in extremely slow-tempo pop songs, and this is The Curtain Hits the Cast, which has a number of songs on it that I really enjoy. Their big single off of this was Over the Ocean, if you could call it big, but my favorite song is called Lust. It's really good. I've been a fan of Seal for a long time, and I think if I were going to consider one of his albums, I would go with Human Being, which has some of my favorite tracks on there, including Still Love Remains, and Just Like You Said, and When a Man Is Wrong, Color. These are all some of my favorite Seal tracks. There isn't any one particular album of his that I like more than all the others, but this one would be a good bet, probably. And as far as classic albums go, there's Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, which I've been fond of for a long time, since my friend introduced me to it. And of course, the Beatles. One must always consider the Beatles. This is Abbey Road, my favorite Beatles album. Lots of good tracks on there. You Never Give Me Your Money, Because, Mean Mr. Mustard, that's a really good one. Golden Slumbers, Maxwell Silverhammer, Octopus's Garden, it's Here Comes the Sun. It's a great album, but I could only pick 5, and if I've got to pick only 5, then the 5 that I would pick would be somewhat a little bit more obscure than that, I think, and in one case, very obscure. One of my favorite recording artists is Bjork. She's done, her pop music is highly experimental, and the CD of hers that I pick is Medulla. And Medulla is unique is because practically almost every track on this album is done entirely with vocalists. Vocalists do the accompaniment, they do the percussion, and there's lots and lots of very, very cool songs on here. I like Bjork a lot, and this is probably my favorite album by her. I'm also a big fan of Vespertine. I'm a big fan of Homogenic and the soundtrack for Dancer in the Dark. So I'd have trouble picking just one, but if I had to, it would probably be this one right here. Lots of good, and I think probably my favorite track on this is Triumph of the Heart. Who Is It is also a good one. In 1999, Fiona Apple put out her second album. This is called, well, actually the title of the album is like an entire poem, but the first line of it is, "When the pawn hits the conflicts, it thinks like a king." And I don't really care for the first two tracks on this album that much, but from track 3 onward all the way to the end, it's absolutely magnificent. I love this album so much. I could listen to it over and over again. And the very last track is I Know, which is probably my favorite Fiona Apple song and one of my most favorite songs of all time. The Way Things Are is also a really good one. Fast as You Can. Paper Bag, that's also a good one. Yeah, terrific album. And so I could listen to this one again and again and again, so it would be perfect deserted island listening material. Another kind of psychedelic group that a friend of mine introduced me to was Phish a lot of years ago. This is Picture of Nectar. And this is one which I love practically every track on. Could listen to them over and over again. My favorite tracks on here are Chalk Dust Torture and Stash. Stash is one of my favorite songs of all time. There are lots and lots of good tracks on here, but yeah, just the whole album is terrific. So that's what I picked. And for number 4, this is actually might be a little bit of a cheat, but not really, because it is an actual album. It's just one that a lot of people have heard of. A friend of mine actually started their own band, which they called God, or God the Band. And this was the first full-length CD that they put out. It's called God's Greatest Hits Volume 2, which is kind of an ironic title. And, you know, the reason why I like this album is not just because it was done by a very, very close friend of mine. This is a really, really good album. And, you know, I can't get enough of it a lot of the times. You know, I'll find myself humming their songs years later without provocation. And I'm sure that there's some way that I can link you to some of the tracks on here. I'll figure that out. Maybe I'll put a link in the description. But some of my favorite tracks on here are Cash on the Nose. Delivery Boy is a really, really fun song. And my favorite track is probably I'm Not What You Think Is Me Anymore, which is, they're all sort of bizarre subjects, but I love this album very, very much, and this is definitely one that I want to have on me as one of the 5. And I think probably the one that just absolutely couldn't possibly budge from my top 5 list right here would be sort of an unusual choice, I suppose, by a lot of people's standards. Tori Amos, Boys for Pele. This is an album, I listened to the first track of it and I immediately bought it because I loved it so much. And this track is like, this CD is like 18 tracks long, 18, 19 tracks long. And every single one of these songs on it is great. It has no skippable tracks whatsoever. You know, I could listen to the entire album all the way through and not get bored for a single moment. It's a terrific album. My favorite tracks on here, the first track is Beauty Queen and Horses. Those are awesome. Father Lucifer is a really good one. Yeah, Little Amsterdam. Yeah, a lot of good stuff on here. And this is, like I said, 18 tracks. It's like a full, big, long album, and I could listen to it over again. It's perfect for deserted island listening, I guess, if such a thing actually existed. Anyway, so please let me know what you like as well. If you had to pick just 5 CDs and only 5 CDs to listen to for the rest of your life, ones that you know you'd never get bored of, no matter how many times you listen to them, what would they be? Leave a text comment, make a video response, whatever. I'd love to hear from you. And please do vote in my contest. You know, there are prizes to be had. There are virtual prizes, but they're prizes nonetheless. So, thanks very much. Take it easy.